Giants facing fierce backlash from conservatives and claims of censorship after two major social media crackdowns. Twitter permanently banning President Trump from its platform days after the siege on Capitol Hill. And Apple, Google, and Amazon all pulling the plug on Parler, the so-called conservative Twitter. The CEO of that company now fighting back. He's suing Amazon after the app was suspended by its web service. Republicans say the moves amount to silencing their voices.
We're now living in a country where 4 or 5 companies, unelected, unaccountable, have the power, a monopoly power to decide we're going to wipe people out.
The effect of this is that there is no longer a free and open social media company or site for any American to get on any longer.
Well, the social media platforms, I mean, they're completely inconsistent. So they'll crack down on conservatives, but when the Ayatollah says he wants to get rid of the Jews, he wants to demolish Israel, that's okay with the social media platform.
And the backlash now extending beyond just social media. Many corporations halting donations to Republicans who voted to overturn the election. And a payment processing company says it is cutting ties with the Trump campaign's website. Jesse, in fact, the PGA is pulling tournaments away from Trump golf courses. But you also have, as Dana was saying, Marriott, Dow, J.P. Morgan, Hallmark, Blue Cross, American Express, pulling donations from politicians who voted not to certify the Biden victory. What do you think?
Oh, they can ask someone else for money. My thing is this. One, Twitter nuked Donald Trump for 2 specific tweets they said they found offensive. One was when the president said he wasn't going to go to the inauguration. They said that incited violence. And the other is when he said his voters had a giant voice. They said that glorified violence. You know that's BS because it's BS. So I just want to establish that. The American people do not need an unelected CEO to protect us from words uttered by a president who we elected ourselves. We don't need it. Right now, this is an offensive against the president that started a very long time, and we saw it happen in slow motion. Remember, they first started to black out his press conferences, then they started to black out his rallies, then they blacked out his accomplishments and blacked out any news that would have helped him win re-election, aka Hunter Biden's laptop. All right? And now they have monopolies. Amazon, Facebook, Twitter, all of these companies, the strongest, most powerful, wealthiest corporations in the entire world, and they have now conspired with the media and the Democrats to re-engineer the infrastructure of the internet to crack down on their political opponents and their market competitors. Juan, you know, in the early 20th century, Teddy Roosevelt came in and we went after these monopolies, one big railroad and one big oil company, because too much wealth and influence was concentrated in those hands. And he rightfully busted them up. Joe Biden needs to bust these guys up. He won't because he's in bed with them. And it scares me as an American because Joe Biden's penchant for political surveillance, you remember what he did to the Trump campaign, you remember what he did to Mike Flynn, is going to merge with Silicon Valley, who basically own everything we do on the internet. And they're going to go after and target political speech and political association. And at that point, our country is in deep trouble. And only I am going to be able to save the country at that point.
Parler, we're happy to have him on the show tonight. John, thanks so much for coming on. I have to start at the end and ask you if since you built this application as a kind of safe space for freedom of speech, did you ever imagine that Amazon Web Services could or would shut you down in an instant?
Thank you for having me on. I've theorized about it. You know, we've definitely theorized about it. You just never think it'll happen, though, right? You know, and what's really interesting is that they all did it on the same day, those 3, without any prior warning. We woke up on Friday thinking business, well, never business as usual at Parler, but at least as close to usual as possible. We were #1 on the App Store. We had 7 million, almost 7 million unique people on the app that day. And we get a notice, you're in violation of our terms, one after another. But we found out first, in some cases, not from the companies, but from BuzzFeed. We didn't get a notice from Google. We read it online in the news first. And that is shocking. And then after they set that example, we get an email after email. It's almost like you were just waiting. Who's going to be next? Dumping us. Everybody. The last thing we have right now is email, and I bet you within 24 hours, our email will be shut off too.
I just got to ask you, because I think this is a referendum on American society and where we are and where we're going. The left used to stand up for civil liberties. The famously moderate Joe Manchin approves of this. Apart from Glenn Greenwald and Michael Tracy, God bless them both, I haven't seen any liberals stand up to say, wow, this is really scary. Have you?
I'm not sure. I mean, I've seen a lot of people say that this is scary, but I've also seen a lot of people who are participating in the 5 minutes of hate and kind of egging it on and cheering. And it's disgusting. People threatening my life. I can't go home tonight. So this is really a lot. This is not just, our civil liberties. They can shut down $1 billion company, $500 million to $1 billion company. That's what we were getting valuations at overnight.
Are you going to be back up soon?
We will be back up eventually because we're not going to give up. But soon is difficult. I thought immediately, oh, no problem. We'll call up a new vendor, right? We call up the vendor. We're all good to go. And then right at the last second, sorry, somebody said something. We can't host you. Bye. And it's been that one after another ever since then. Right at the last minute, they just bail. So we're going to do it. We're going to be back online one day. And hopefully soon, as soon as possible. But this is a real challenge. We have to build our own infrastructure, our own everything in order to do it.
Pirate radio, digital pirate radio, dark web. I hope so. I hope we're out of time, but I hope, John, you'll come back. You will come back with a list of every corporate coward who bowed to pressure to silence you and 7 million other people on Parler.
You can bet I will. And no, almost 20
Amen.
million people now. Almost 20 million. And yes, I will.
Yeah, I won't forget this day. Great to see you, John. Thank you.
Thank you.